kid at OneYoungsta, holding it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people? Today, oh yeah, coming with another wonderful episode of That's Right, specials, on screen, Star Wars, all that good stuff going on. I was like, you know what? And another thing. And I wanted to bring this brother on because we had a technology snafu where Zoom was tripping. But I'd like to introduce you to the awesome, the magnanimous Hannibal Tabu.
You're very kind. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be back because this is something I'm very excited to talk about.
Oh yes, and we got some. I've had a slight conversation on Twitter and conversations behind the scenes about Star Wars in general now. So I figured, hey, we already did it. We already did a small show. I'd like to leave the floor to you for a moment. How did you feel about the finale? How did you feel about season 2? And then we could get into Star Wars.
Okay. When I finished the finale, I said to myself, I have never seen anybody Star Wars this hard in my entire life. Just everything poured into it. What I noticed, because I've now watched the season finale 3 times. And the third time, I just skipped to him walking in Moff Gideon with the saber. Because while everything before that was great, it's fantastic seeing nothing but women taking down a ship full of stormtroopers. It's fantastic with the fight between Gideon and Din Djarin. I was like, no, I'm here for the dessert. Give me my dessert. And watching the parallels that many people online have been putting out, that the season finale had a scene. We're going full spoilers, right?
Yeah, this is full spoilers.
Okay, good. Okay.
Like the episode has been out all weekend. Come on.
Fair enough. So the parallels between Luke coming onto the light cruiser and Vader at the end of Rogue One were interesting to me, because while there were visual similarities, I actually think Luke showed it as a level up, because Vader went through a hallway of, with all due respect, scrubs. These were jobbers.
Yeah, with all due respect, you're looking at the bare minimum rebel guys. It's not like they had the illest training. They did what they could.
Yeah, they weren't drop troopers. They were not, but on the other hand, Luke flies into Gideon's special little light cruiser.
Yep.
And the dark troopers were the most lethal things that the Empire has ever fielded. Nothing has ever been that tough.
Even more than the Death Troopers.
Exactly. He sleptwalked through. He didn't even break a sweat. He was like,
I don't think there was any. He made them look like battle droids.
Yeah, they were essentially not even like super battle droids, like regular battle droids.
He did just kind of like, excuse me, I have something to do. Excuse, if you would just let me through, please. Just slide by.
The one that he stopped to crush, which is supposed to be a no-no, Jedis aren't supposed to blah, blah, blah. He's like, whatever, I'm rewriting the rules. The one that he stopped to crush was, it was just funny to me in a lot of ways, because that was like, I really thought I had a chance here. I thought I was going to be able to contribute, but I wasn't.
Yeah, he was like, because I'm going to be honest. If I had the powers of the Force, or if I had the ability to write someone in Star Wars with the powers of the Force, like, y'all be like, yo, I didn't even know the Force could work like that. Be like, yeah, because it's telekinesis. Let your boy get a chance. Like, like, y'all lucky I ain't getting no Force powers yesterday, all right? Because I was wanting either the Force or what Goku got, which is essentially everything. Like, super speed, he could teleport, he could fly, super strong. What doesn't he have? You know what I'm saying? So, y'all lucky.
For me, because I believe the game series was called Force Unleashed. That's as close as I've seen to stuff. Dude was like, Star Destroyer? Nope. Pulling that down. He was chucking TIE fighters at people. He was bananas. And that's the way, if you're really telekinetic, if the Force is really your ally, that you should be able to do on a fairly basic, everyday basis.
Yeah, you should be able to walk on the scene and it'd be like on some like Tetsuo or Kira type mess.
A Jedi is a weapon of mass destruction. And not acknowledging that is,
So I thought that was cool. I really loved how Luke came through. How are you feeling about the how are you feeling about the Bo-Katan issue?
There's actually many issues with Bo-Katan, and I've brought this up multiple times. That first of all, we really have to talk about the moisturizer regimen inside of a Mandalorian helmet.
Yo, you ain't never lied.
Looks amazing.
Bo-Katan looking pretty fresh.
And in the same amount of time, Ewan McGregor turned into Alec Guinness. Tatooine is hard on it. It's hard.
Y'all look, I know y'all moving to Vegas because LA is expensive, but just be careful. All right, keep that moisture on. Because Phoenix, Vegas, other places like that, you know what I'm saying? Watch out. Because you saw what happened. Look at Bo-Katan, young and fresh. Look at Obi-Wan, he's looking dusty. All right.
Rough.
He's been out there.
Tatooine was hard on a man.
It's too hot.
I'm just saying.
Too hot.
Too hot, lady.
San Diego, stuff like that. It's too hot. It's too hot.
So that's the first thing. But second, and here's where, because people are asking me, oh, what are we going to even have a season 3? Of course we're going to have a season. We're going to Mandalore, baby. We got to go to Mandalore.
I figure season 3 will be the end of the show. I assume.
Maybe. But well,
story-wise, for me, I would feel satisfied if season 3 was the end of at least, his story. Because it in many ways, as Obi-Wan said, brought him into a larger world. He was a lone kind of gunslinger with his own little clan and doing stuff. And now he's like, oh, wait a minute, Mandalore is a thing. And I don't know nothing about nothing. Yeah.
So there's been, ever since, truthfully, before what we saw in Clone Wars, there's been a struggle between the Death Watch and the mainstream Mandalorian society that has caused bloodshed and conflict and yada yada. And the only thing that can unite them is the Darksaber, which is currently in the hands of a foundling who does not want it. Yeah. However, if you follow the wisdom of Douglas Adams, anybody who wants power is the worst possible person to have power.
Yeah.
And the fact that he doesn't want it actually may be a selling point. Because if we look at galactic history, because you and I as fans have the ability to step back and look at the whole timeline, Mandalore,
at least a good chunk of it, because I don't know everything, but
we know the big bullet points. We know the big dance numbers. But we do know that on a large galactic scale, Mandalore never influenced galactic history in a major way. You don't see Mandalorians popping up in all kind of crazy places. So knowing
they were kind of, at least from what we learned from the animated series, kind of hoodwinked and then kind of became, I don't know, maybe not subservient, because there's some parts of the Clone Wars and Rebels that make it seem like they were subservient, or at least at a level of like, we won't interfere because we're scared of what you'll do to us.
Well, you're looking back and I'm looking forward. I'm thinking to the sequel trilogy that ain't no Mandalorians nowhere. Ain't nobody rolling in like, oh shit, look out for some Beskar. They aren't there. So one, given that as Boba Fett said, the Empire turned Mandalore to glass, which implies a very heavy orbital bombardment of Star Destroyers, something like Operation Cinder. That'd be the first thought in that regard. And two, that the Mandalorians are now small in number and ultra militarized, whether they be Watch or otherwise, that the Darksaber can unite them, take them home, and again, recreate their Concord Dawnish isolationist ideas that really, if you really look at it as a society, protected them a lot from a lot of these galactic shenanigans.
True. And to the whole thing with Mandalore, there's been a lot of talk. How do you feel about her not accepting the saber, especially from what we learned in Rebels? Because I have at least one theory that I can think of why she didn't take it, but it does seem to be an issue. But I'll let you roll on that one for a second.
Here's the thing. If Sasha Banks wasn't standing there, she would have taken the saber. But knowing what she knows about Mandalore, knowing what she knows about honor, and more importantly, knowing what she knows that it would take to bring back the Watch, to bring back all the Mandalorians there, she couldn't just accept it from a foundling. That doesn't fit with Mandalorian values. It'd be like a Klingon saying, "Oh, I didn't even go through the pain stick line." You didn't go through the pan stick line.
Yeah.
You ain't no Klingon.
Because I was wondering if it was an issue because in Rebels, she takes it from Sabine, just like, boom, cool, thank you, peace out. But I was like, well, maybe it's because he's a foundling, or another thought I have is maybe because when she accepted it from Sabine in Rebels without a challenge or a fight or, you know, duel or whatever, later on, she was considered a kind of like a hollow queen or whatever.
Yes.
Because it's like, so maybe there was fallout that we didn't see after that, but then that's still me trying to fix it without, you know, but that's the only thing. So maybe she learned from that and said, no, this time I definitely have to fight for it.
There's already canonical evidence that there was fallout, because when we walk up to the Mandalorian, she, who was the last known wielder of the Darksaber, ain't got it.
True.
So,
yeah.
you know, well, first of all, so she lost it to somebody, which is bad, or the Empire took it from her, which is worse.
Yeah.
So to accept it without conflict goes against every Mandalorian value.
Especially if it was taken from her. Like
Especially
if the Empire just came in and said, you know, look, either you could give us the Darksaber or we can murder like 100 Mandalorians in front of you.
And they probably did too, based on what we know.
Yeah, they probably did both. She probably gave it up, and then they ended up killing them anyway, or something like that.
So foundling or not, whatever or not, she has to. Gideon said it best. The story has power. She has to have a story that shows her reclaiming this power of Mandalore, because without that, she can't go to somebody like the armor and be like, I'm putting the band back together. Oh, you got the Darksaber. Did you win that?
Well,
man, get out of my office. Yeah. Was it the armor would just be like, bang, fool, give it up.
Give me that. No, big shout out to the chat. Kibi23 up in here. Tony Fleming up in here. Got Smoking Mirrors. What's up? Tony Fleming said, so to reclaim her honor, she had to reclaim it the right way. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? She got to. Yep. So unfortunately, because, you know, you could look at it in another way where a foundling believes in her so much, he's willing to allow her to lead. You could see it like that, but with them being like super duper, you know, fighting all the time, nah, son, they don't care.
If they're not even, because they already side eye him as a foundling, first of all. Second of all, he's not even a regular foundling. He's a child of the Watch. Those guys are nut jobs. So
which we find out about. She's like, oh, those guys, like the religious guys. Like,
those guys are the worst.
Like, oh, those guys. Yeah. And so, because when they took their mask off, he was like, oh, excuse me?
Ma'am, this is an Arby's.
So, all right, let's get into your boy Luke. You know what I'm saying? Since we talked about Luke, I will say this. Technology, we getting closer. We're getting closer. We're getting there. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then the eyes were weird and the lips were weird, but we're getting closer. We got Gemini Man, we had young Samuel Jackson, we had Leia, we had Tarkin. We had these things where it's like we're slowly getting. It's weird because we look at human beings all the time.
Yeah.
But
or so we believe.
It was decent. Or so.
I mean, I don't know.
It's lizard
we're
people.
Zoom now. I don't know what you are.
Lizard people.
You could be a hologram. I don't know what you are.
Star Wars is going to turn the frogs gay. I was like when you hear that, you're like, is frogs being gay a thing? Like, does it? Maybe I need to watch Discovery Channel more. Like,
would that be a problem though? Would
fabulous
if they
are? Does it? I guess it diminishes the population of tadpoles and then increases the population of like flies and mosquitoes. And then I don't know.
I remember. I don't care. All right. Okay. I'm good. So, but here's the thing. I tweeted this today, as a matter of fact, that there was somebody went and did what's called a deep fake, which is where they take existing stuff and they use this deep fake software and they put it side by side with the one that was on, and it looked better than what they did. They kept the secret for a year. They did personally, and it looked more like Luke, more like Mark Hamill from 1983, or in this case, it would be 1988 because this is 5 years after Endor, than what they CGI'd, which is good
Wow.
and bad, because on a good side, I'm glad that, we're able to at least recreate some of these emotions, some of these moments in creative ways. In a bad side, if you record enough of an actor, it means the actor is no longer useful. You can just use the technology, and that's not cool. So
there's this weird space where, is a actor's likeness protected in there's a whole legal weird area you get into where
and we know
they
probably got
business will be like, we ain't got to pay nobody.
There's also an article I read about what they call virtual influencers, which are these things. Essentially, they're not real people, but they have Instagram accounts and they have followers and they have pictures of them with their friends. Those are all photos, and they're completely artificial people that have personalities, that have conversation, that do all these things, yada yada, and they're not real. And most of the people who follow them know they're not real, but do it anyway. So there's a concern there. But personally, my belief is that Disney somewhere has James Earl Jones strapped into a room saying every syllable in every possible way that he can, because we're running out of James Earl Jones time and we have to be real about that. So
true. James Earl Jones isn't getting any younger. What I would do is I would give James Earl Jones a huge sum, bring him in, have him read like every line from the comics, every line from the movies over again, all that, just so we can be like, look, you know what I'm saying? The contract says we can remix this, use it how, because it's like Vader will show up in something like if we go back and do like a mini series that's like 4 episodes where Vader did this or something like that, we'll be able to get that voice and, have like an updated, you know what I'm saying? So,
for voice acting, they can't just have him read the stuff. They got to have him, okay, now give it a little brighter. Now give it a little darker. Now give me five angries, 5 happies, 5 sads, So he's got to literally live in the booth for months and months at a time to be able to get that even closer. Because when they did him for a Waze, that he was a Waze voice that you could get on your GPS, that took months and months for him to do. And it was just like, turn right, roundabout. It was just simple stuff.
Yeah, like simple stuff. All right, so we love Mandalorian, but there has been some Star Wars madness. People have been happy and angry. You know what I'm saying? People have been bringing up canon issues where
let's go.
I love Luke Skywalker. I love the finale.
Go on.
I had a lot of fun with season 2.
Yes, sir.
I think that we have leveraged fan service without really regarding canon or how canon could play out. Because I think in some ways you make people ask the wrong questions or paint yourself into a corner. Like,
okay, I think I'm ready for you, but go. How so?
All right, so you have Ahsoka.
Here we go.
You have Ahsoka. We talked about her before. You have Ahsoka. She was there all that time. We ain't heard nothing. We ain't seen nothing. Where you been? Blah, blah, blah. Now, when we see her, she's supposed to be looking for Thrawn. Cool. But you left with Sabine. Where's Sabine? Is she dead? You make me ask all of these questions. Instead of being excited to see you, I'm full of questions. And that's a bad thing. And then for her to follow what I would consider to be like the tried and true Jedi way of like, not my problem. I can't do it. I'm going to run off and hide or something. It's like, this kid needs you. He's like, technically, Grogu's 50, but he's technically like 1.5 or something like that. Because he's not speaking yet. He's still cooing. So he's like, I don't know, 1.5 maybe. So, my dude, like, somebody just go over there and put him on top of a mountain. Really? While you chase a man who's, by all accounts, dead, unless he's not, if you're going to say something in the script. But, so that's one thing.
I'm ready for that one. Please go ahead, though.
Luke. I love Luke.
Yeah,
I love Luke.
I know
We're
that.
cool with Luke.
We love it.
So he shows up. He takes Grogu, Baby G. All right. Where is Baby G now? We went through a whole sequel trilogy, nothing. All right, nothing. Now I know it's a big galaxy, right? But you think with the issues that Baby G dealt with as a child, you know what I'm saying, and also being trained by Luke, yo, when First Order come through, he gonna be like, I can't let this stand, unless he got killed by Ben.
That part.
But that remains to be seen. It seems like one of those things that they're like, well, you can't disprove it, so let's just write it, which is cool. But as someone who once you get into a canon, it kind of rubs you a weird way. And then Bo-Katan. Okay. Bo-Katan, another one. Love Bo-Katan. Moisturize. Look great after all these years. Look at the animation. Look at the TV. Look fresh. But it seems that even Bo-Katan, who was the sister of Satine, you ain't got but like one friend, two. That's it. That's how bad it is. There's no story behind that we're going to learn at all. Now I know people like, yo, let's just leave it, out so we can figure it out later. But the problem with doing that is you make people ask the wrong questions instead of being excited. So how you feeling?
I'm glad you asked, because I've got stuff to cover all of that. Before I get into the specifics, I want you to think back. Get into the Wayback Machine with me and think back to the end of season 1 and think about the way you felt. And do you know what you did not have at the end of season 1? Questions. Because everything presented to you was new information. There was nothing there that you were like, oh my God, he's got the Darksaber. That's not weird at all that the Empire would have that. They talked about Mandalore was messed up. Oh, wow, that's good. Blah, blah. Now, as you say, with fan service, you've introduced far too many questions, which is why I'll begin with my least favorite one of them, Ahsoka Tano. Hashtag Ahsoka must die. So, Ahsoka, it seems like what the canon would like us to believe is that Ahsoka has been off of the center stage of galactic events because she's been protecting us from things so horrible that had they come to light, we would have never dealt with them. That Ahsoka's been off chasing Grand Admiral Thrawn and keeping him and the Chiss at bay and keeping the galaxy safe from them. Sure, okay, if that's your story, maybe. But if it's your story, here's the bigger problem. In a galaxy where we know many, many, many things, here's a scene that happens offline. Luke gets back to his new Jedi temple, which, fun story, if this is 5 years after Endo, Ben Solo is literally being born across the galaxy right now. So he was maybe missing his nephew's birth. Maybe it just happened. Maybe they had the christening. I don't know. Whatever. Yodening, forcening, I don't know what they call it. But the point being, so he gets young Grogu, who he can communicate with through the Force. He gets him back, and Grogu's eating or whatever. He's like, I'm so glad I found you. Wow, my master was the same species. I'm so happy to see you. How did you know to find that seeing stone on that Jedi temple? Oh, my stepdad, he ran into Ahsoka, and she told us about it.
Who's that?
Who's Ahsoka?
Who's that?
And he's still eating. Oh, well, wait, I think I remember her from back at the temple. I think she was Master Skywalker's. Wait, here's Luke over here drinking.
My daddy?
She's Master Skywalker's apprentice. She's who's wait, Anakin Skywalker? She was his apprentice? Yeah. And she's alive now? Yes.
Like she's walking around today.
Does she have some inability to use technology or holographic communications that we've had since before the Clone Wars? Nope.
Especially now that the Galactic Empire is dead, she still didn't reach out?
She seems perfectly fine. And Luke sits back like, Here's the thing, because Luke is just starting out his new Jedi temple. He's got his first little apprentice.
He could use an extra teacher, somebody to handle homeroom.
What he could use is a cautionary tale. Somebody who was on the ground, who saw things go wrong, who would have all of the information on, oh, wait, this is how it actually turns out. Because I totally lightsaber fought your dad in armor on top of a Jedi temple and almost died. And oh, by the way, there's time travel. There's so much information that you could have, which also, let's side trip here for a second. If Hera Syndulla went into her husband's things and broke out the Jedi holocron that's literally on her ship, I bet that would have been super helpful. But nope, Luke had to figure stuff out on his own because he's an uneducated hick from a backwoods planet. So Ahsoka has decided through her inactivity, through her criminal neglect, to essentially sentence 5 planets full of people to death. Because had she influenced what had happened at Luke's temple, it wouldn't have burned. You don't get Kylo Ren, no Kylo Ren, no First Order, no Starkiller Base. And if you really look at it, you could say the same about Yoda and Obi-Wan's running off to hide.
Yep, because, and big shout out to Saba Noor up in here. Big shout out to Antoine Allen. I'm going to holler at y'all comments in a second. Because when Kylo is there that wants to be Darth Vader so bad, you have someone that's like, nah, bruh, I was there. He was my teacher. Mm-hmm. He was my master. I was his Padawan.
I know.
I know how he's turning out. This is not what he wanted to be. And then you have you have Luke backing it up, being like, I was there at his end. So I was there at the beginning. I was here at his end. What you're following is not what that man wanted to be. That man was scared of his wife and kids dying, and that's what turned him. It had nothing to do with, he was like, yo, I want to be the boss of all bosses. You know what I'm saying? So that might have stopped Kylo. Or if it didn't stop Kylo, you still have another teacher there to protect the students. So when Kylo try to get all bad, Ahsoka be like, ha! I'm going to have to stop you right there. I had to stop you right there.
Which brings me to my second point, Luke Skywalker. Now, the galaxy hinged on the Jedi's plan to weaponize and radicalize Luke Skywalker and turn him against the government. Okay, great. Now, they did this because they expected he would be more pliable because Luke grew up on a backwoods planet, stupid and uneducated.
Stupid.
I've got pretty much a lot of canonical evidence that shows Luke being really stupid. Really stupid. So, if on the other hand, they had put their eggs in the basket of the Dr. Senator Princess, who had a PhD at the age of 16, who had traveled the galaxy and was well renowned, and people knew her and knew stuff. If they had gone with her, maybe this would have gone a different way. But no, being patriarchal schmucks, they didn't trust that, and they went with this idiot. And that turns out,
even though technically she got into the rebellion anyway through Bail. So
less about the rebellion though. What I'm saying though, by the time she took a year of Jedi training. By the time she took her year of Jedi training, Luke had been all through it. The balance of power had shifted. The effects of things in a butterfly effect sort of way, the butterfly effect, things had changed. So she had a vision that said, if I keep doing this, it's going to go badly in a way that I can't fix. The best way for me to do this is to not dig into these force powers this way. Mm-hmm. Now, if you rewind the track and instead take it back to her, in Rebels, dealing with Ezra Bridger, and she's saying, wait a minute, instead of, not knowing, if she knows, oh, I'm force sensitive too, player. Oh, you got a master? Let me check your holocron. Let me see where I can holler at you. Let's see what we can do, Because they wouldn't have had to reveal her parentage. Random people became force sensitive all over the galaxy. It wasn't even a surprise. Yeah. So there's a million better ways to do this, but we have Luke. So since we have Luke, let's roll out this play. Luke, as I said, he spits his takes, and he finds out Ahsoka exists. Yeah. Now, either A, Canon tells us that's probably not important. I'll just go on with what I'm doing. Or B, he says, I gotta find this lady. I need to talk to Ahsoka
my
now.
dad when my dad was just a regular man.
And either A,
the stories I could learn, the things
exactly.
that I could know that could help me in my new temple.
If you go down that choose your own adventure route, either A, he fails to find her, which would fit his education level, or B, he succeeds in finding her and she goes Matumbo on him and says, I'm not getting back into this Jedi shenanigans.
Like,
You're not pulling me back in. Which again brings me back to her criminal neglect.
Yeah.
So,
now, Tony Fleming says, how you don't know Luke didn't have a PhD in moisture, agricultural, and fluid dynamics?
You want to know how I know? Because I've read the canon materials to show that Luke didn't leave the farm. There was no educational opportunities for him there. That everybody on Tatooine was undereducated. Not just him. Everybody on that whole planet is stupid.
All he knew how to do was just be a farmer. But
yeah,
every now and then he did fly the little moisture things or whatever because he knew how to hit a womp rat or whatever. But
yeah, he learned how to shoot and drive. He's a Duke of Hazzard. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Oh, you know what? He's one of them white boys that live out in the sticks that all they do is shoot their dad's beer cans, you know what I'm saying, and ride around in the four-wheelers, and that's it. That's their enjoyment. That's it. They go to
just some good old boys.
They go into town to the bowling alley, and that's it.
Yeah, he's a Duke of Hazzard in space. That's not impressive. And yeah, I've never broken. I've been saving this one. I've been saving that one for a long time. So yeah, I know for a canonical fact that Luke is an undereducated moron because that made it easier for Obi-Wan to radicalize and weaponize him in his ultimate plan. I get that. That's logical. Stupid, but logical. Which brings me to, now that I've gone through Luke's whole thing, that either he succeeds or fails to find Ahsoka. He fails to get the information out of her head. He never gets the holocron. He screws up. Kylo Ren, Starkiller Base, yada, yada, yada. Which brings me to the third point. Grogu himself.
Yep.
Now, Grogu has experienced some trauma. Grogu has experienced the end of the first Jedi Temple. So if he's sitting there eating his food, minding his business, and all of a sudden screams, lightsaber slashes, and fire, he's like, no, we're not doing this again. No, Stepdad, can you come get me? Can you come get me?
Can you come pick me up from school?
Yeah, and he goes swoop up, pick him up, and roll back to Mandalore because there has been Force-sensitive Mandalorians before. He is a foundling under the responsibility of the Mandalorian Creed, no matter whether you watch or not. So chances are either A, Ben killed him, which is truthfully the best story. If you look at the story overall, it's the best story option because it ties up all the loose ends. And it really shows the corruption of Ben Solo in the best possible way. Or if you want a Dave Filoni in it and not let anybody else play with your toys, then he got scooped up, went back into hiding, and more than likely ended up with Din Djarin. Those are the most plausible things to happen there. It's a big galaxy. Could he be, shadow boxing with Chiss somewhere? Maybe, but it's implausible.
Yeah.
So,
and speaking of plausible, Keith and Jones said, "What up?"
What's up, Keith?
He also said, "I'm late to this convo, but Star Wars works best left vague, plausible but vague. It's still more fantasy and not hardcore sci-fi like Star Trek." And I feel you. It's just that when you say that all this stuff matters and all this stuff happened in the same, world, or I guess galaxy, you know what I'm saying? Or I mean, galaxy, universe, whatever. It's hard not to say like, well, hey, back in, 1995, you did this, or, back in 1601, or, it's kind of hard not to bring that stuff up.
Well, first of all, the wisdom that Keeson presents is why they chose him for the Eisners. That's why he's going to be an Eisner judge this year. Congratulations. I love you, man. Respect. Second, your point is true, which is why, again, I brought up the time machine of going back to the end of season 1. There was one thing that you saw that was not new information, and that's the Darksaber. Everything else was new information, new characters, new scenes, mostly new planets, with the exception of going to Tatooine.
Yeah.
So all of the business that you introduce, it's like, oh, and Mandalore burned. That's cool. That doesn't slow me down moving forward. These are new characters, new lives, new stuff going on. If you are, as he says, plausible and vague with new characters, you're not tied up in all that old continuity. You don't have to worry, wait a minute, did Luke miss the birth of his nephew picking up Grogu? Because the timelines, you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about Poe Dameron. Was he like 9 years old? Was he, you don't think about those things because you're dealing with new people and new ties. And that's really the best way to follow the advice of Jeff Thorne, my personal mentor in a lot of ways. Make new things.
Yes, and that's what kind of got me about this season 2. I enjoyed season 2. And shouts out to Bill Burr randomly, because I was like, God. You know what? You kind of did your thing. But
he did everything that Canto Bight did in much less time.
True. Because the lesson that was learned in Canto Bight was a good lesson for Finn to learn, but he didn't have to learn it that way. But the thing that I love most about Mandalorian or any show like this is that I was like, cool, new people, because all right, we're on one planet. There's tons of stuff going on here that we can see that they're in a whole galaxy, plus the wild space out in the far reaches or whatever. There's tons of people here. We don't need to see the same 20 people over and over again. There's tons of people. In season 1, I was like, oh man, look at all this new stuff. It's crazy. And then even seeing how other people reacted or thought about different, like when you got that line about the Gungans and stuff like that, like just little stuff through conversation that I was like, oh, this is cool. You get to see how like people feel about different parts of the planet. Even some of season 2, like in episode 1, when we saw Tatooine, but a different side of Tatooine, that was great.
True.
But then once you start to get into old stuff, I'm like, dude, let's do something new, which is kind of why I'm worried about these new shows that are all set in this time period of The Mandalorian, because I'm like, bruh, let's do something new. Now, they might not even touch on it, which will be cool, but it does worry me.
I'm going to come back to that because Amazon just showed up, but it's the holidays. But yeah, there's a lot of that. Talk for just one more second. I'm going to get this Amazon. I'll be right back.
All right, cool. So big shout out to Tony Fleming. Says, my biggest thing about Star Wars is that people obsess about what should have happened when the point of the stories is that stuff happens to get where you end up. Balance goes both ways. You can't take Jesus out of the Bible, though. Keithan Jones says, I will go to my grave saying Finn is the biggest missed opportunity for Star Wars to do something new and interesting. Yeah, true that. I agree. Now, the thing with people obsessing over what should have happened, I'm not obsessing over it. Making a show just saying like, dude, this would have been cool, isn't really obsessing. There's a difference between a general critique and obsessing over something. So I wouldn't consider this obsessing, but no. but obsessing, I don't know if I go that far. Shouts out to Fatima in the house. What up? But back to Hannibal. Tony Fleming said, my biggest thing about Star Wars is that people obsess over what should have happened when the point of stories is that stuff happens to get where you end up. Balance goes both ways. You can't take Jesus out of the Bible, though. LOL.
Here's the thing about that. When you get, and I'm glad he brought Jesus into the conversation in this season. That's a perfect thing. When you get into something that has a continuity to it, that has a certain through line to the story, then if somebody comes up with, say, for instance, a sequel to the Bible where Jesus is in Utah and gives golden plates to a group, and then they are able to take that as a new gospel, people who were previously fans of the continuity are going to be like, Utah? Wait a minute, what?
Utah?
So when you're working, and the best person at this is Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler is the master of working inside of a system. When there is continuity, when there is a system, and you understand that there are guardrails, if you write between the guardrails, never bumping up into any of them, yeah, little man knows what I'm talking about, then you're going to have a much easier time accomplishing stories that will not make people have these sorts of thoughts. What you're calling obsession is what the makers of Star Wars call engagement. It's the reason why they're able to finance their 16th houses on Jar Jar action figures, because the fixation that you're calling is how much people are emotionally invested in this property. I saw Star Wars in the theaters 40 times in 1977. I was 4 years old. You know, the emotional investment that is played in my life is big. And for Disney, that's why they're willing to pay $4 billion for it, is profitable. I wish I could show you all of the little, like I literally bought a vintage Lando this week. So you know, when you look at all that, it's not, this is good for a property and it's not a bad thing. It's only bad when people start to say, oh, well, certain type of people can't be invited to the party, because anytime discrimination against any person is discrimination against all people. And that's just, you know, that's Dr. King. So
I mean, unless they did something to be discriminated against, that's, you know, that's different.
Oh, if you mean like awful people, you know, like, you know, okay, well, truly awful people.
Like if somebody did something and be like, yo, man, you can't come here because you're crazy, then that's
but that's a person, that's a behavioral thing, not a categorization thing.
True.
You don't categorize, just because Dick Cheney shot his friend in the face, don't mean you deal with all white guys that look like that and say, you gonna shoot your friend in the face. You don't know that.
But Wilford Brimley might not want to go on a hunting trip with them.
I'm just saying, Ed Asner didn't do it. Wilford Brimley didn't do it. There's a lot of harmless looking white guys that did not shoot their best friends in the face. You can't judge them all by Dick Cheney. So.
Just saying, I don't go on no trips. Stay your butt at home.
I'm from Memphis. I ain't going in the woods with no white man and no gun anyway. I'm just gonna say it. I'm sorry. But.
I'm cool. You know what? I'm busy that weekend. But Salvador says, you only had 3 black people in 40 years of story, Lando, Mace, and Finn, and there is no connection. Missed opportunity all the way.
Incorrect. You're forgetting about Captain Tanaka. You're forgetting about Adi Gallia.
Ray Sloan was black.
Ray Sloan, thank you. You're forgetting that there's a new canonical game which shows that part of the family that makes TIE fighters has a black daughter who left their family to join the rebellion. There's Sir Junda, who was in the Fallen Jedi game. You know, there's black folk.
Yeah, there was the lady that cut herself off from the Force, and she kind of sort of helped Cal escape from Darth Vader. Yeah. So that was dope.
Exactly. Played by Deborah Wilson.
The thing is, I have an issue with the Fallen Order game, but that's a whole nother thing. And I feel like we worked really hard to get Cal Kestis to look good, and like the rest of the characters look like they were in PS2. Like I'm just being honest. Like I feel like Cal Kestis looked awesome, and then everyone else looked like PS2. Look at old girl one more time. You're like, yo, what's up with her eyes? Why is she like, yo, what's going on?
You're right. That's not an unfair criticism. It's not. But my only beef with that game, more than that, is it's like, so how many people escaped Order 66? That's kind of sloppy work there, Pap Dog. Come on, what you doing?
Yeah, because like that's another thing. There's so many people. It's weird because you get into this thing with Star Wars where it's like Order 66 seemed like, yo, all the Jedi were dead except Yoda and Obi-Wan. And then you step back and you're like, well, nah. Actually, there were enough Jedi left over for them to regroup for about a year and then come back in force. And so I'm like, so y'all was just scared. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be honest,
we have a word in our community for that one. Shook. Ain't no such thing. They was halfway crooks. Ain't no such thing.
Oh, Salvador said 3 majors. So yeah, I guess if you want to talk about films, yes, the three majors. I'll give you that.
Wait. There was a dude on Cloud City that's a legend. Hang on. There's a there was a brother who was on Cloud City that they showed him running, taking some stuff, and he's got a whole lore. It's hilarious. I don't remember his name. I gotta look it up.
Shouts to Arcatron in the chat. What's up? Good to see you. But I will say that who was it? Was it Keithan? Keith said, "Oh yeah, that the biggest missed opportunity was that Finn didn't do anything." Finn was a perfect example of Disney using the black juice algorithm to get y'all into the theater. Me too. I ain't going front. They showed a brother with the saber, and we was like, yeah. And then we got in the theater, and we was like, oh.
They slipped you a Mickey. Yeah.
We were like, oh snap! They showed the brother was the first face. We was like, oh snap! Finn about to be sweet. And then he had the saber. We was like, oh. And then we get to the theater. We was like, oh.
They slipped you a Mickey.
Okay, well, you know what? Next movie.
They did, and John Boyega says this. They did him dirty. They did him dirty, and he did everything he was supposed to do. Played along with the system exactly as he was asked to, and they did him dirty.
Yeah. And speaking of that, since we're talking about the second movie, meaning episode 8, Tony Fleming said on Twitter, sorry I missed the broadcast talking about the last show, but in regards to the Mandalorian finale, can we finally say that Rian Johnson made the biggest entertainment miscalculation in history with The Last Jedi?
Absolutely not.
I want to see where you are on that one, because I kind of expressed my feelings a little bit on that, but I want to see where you at on that one.
There is nothing inconsistent with what happened, because by the time we got to The Last Jedi, first of all, let me get back to my original points and reiterate my original talking points, that the criminal neglect of Ahsoka Tano helped create the situation which led to Luke's ultimate failure, aside from the fact that Luke was poorly trained. He did like 3 weeks on Dagobah. He was 12 hours, like 8 hours with Obi-Wan.
Yeah, had a couple hours with Obi-Wan. Few days, you know what I'm saying? About 3 weeks or so.
He was at best, because you could say meeting Vader was his trial. At best, he was a knight. Only a master is qualified to really teach. He was not really qualified to teach under any circumstance. So everything that happened through that was truthfully, kind of predictable in that regard. When he realized his failure, everything that he said in Last Jedi, despite his change of heart at the end and his renewed faith, everything that he said was true. The legacy of the Jedi is hubris and failure. For thousands and thousands of years, they had the opportunity to exterminate the Sith. They had the entire mechanism of the galaxy behind them, and they failed for thousands. And that is canon. That is not my conjecture. That is actual canon. So with that in mind, he was right. And he was broken, and he was tired. And he did what every Jedi does when they get punched in the face, like Mike Tyson. He ran and he cried.
Yeah.
Until finally he figured a way. It was like, wait a minute, I can Skype in? I don't even have to show up? I'm going to do that. Will it cost me all of my energy? Sure, whatever. That just means people won't look for me. They can't expect anything from me anymore. First of all, Last Jedi is probably my second favorite Star Wars movie, right behind Empire. And for a lot of the same reasons. It's a quote machine. It puts new ideas on the field, and it challenges what people believe.
The Holdo maneuver was dope. I ain't going front.
Exactly. And
that was dope.
Amilyn Holdo does not get the credit that she deserves as a hero of the rebellion. She does not get the credit she deserves. And all of those things happened in that movie from Rian Johnson, who did something different. If you look at everything that happens through there, it's like, let's try this new idea. Let's try this new idea. Let's try this new idea. Whereas Force Awakens is a retrograde piece of trash. And The Rise of Skywalker is like, you know what, guys? Let's just finish this. Let's just get it done. Yeah. Let's bring out some more world colors.
I won't say that Force Awakens is trash. I'm one of those people that I was like, when I saw it, I was like, you know what? I get it. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole group of people that's mad about the prequels. So we kind of gotta drum up the nostalgia juice a little bit. Okay, cool. But episode 8, we gotta go somewhere. And then when we went somewhere, I was like, ooh, wow, I did not expect that. You guys really forced a lot on that third movie. I can't wait to see it. And then when I saw the third movie, I was like, oh, well, you know what? It's done.
Yes. Because here's the thing. Their original plan, based on the ages of the actors, and truthfully based on sexism, was that episode 7 was going to be a Han Solo movie. Episode 8 was going to be a Luke Skywalker movie. Episode 9 was supposed to be a Princess Leia movie, which was always the plan that they went into it with. Let me correct that. That's all of the plan because they really hadn't specced out the story, really. That's all the plan that they had. And unfortunately, Carrie passed away before we could make that happen. So they had to do some quick, in the same way that I'm sure Ryan Coogler had to scratch his head after Chadwick passed, they had to do some quick refactoring and figure stuff out. Because they're like, Disney wants us to get this movie out, y'all. We got to do this. The results are not stellar. They're acceptable. It's a solid C paper. And they turned it in, they passed, and we're done.
And it's a perfect example of what, like, because when people go crazy about Rise of Skywalker, I'm like, well, it's not bad. No. It's not great.
Nope.
It's all right. Like, if it's on, I'm not going to, like, race to the remote to turn it off. But I'm also not racing to turn it on either. I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. It's in the background.
I had to fly internationally.
The Rise of Skywalker. It's on in the background.
That's a tagline they didn't want. I had to fly internationally, and I ended up on a plane for creeping on about 20 hours. During that time, of all the movies that were on that flight, I watched The Last Jedi 3 times, and I loved it more each time that I did it. I started Justice League on that plane, and I did not finish it.
Justice League is a tough one.
It's and to me,
this as someone who has HBO Max, I'm just saying, I hope y'all get what y'all want.
I will not watch it. I will not watch
Snyder Cut people. I hope y'all get what y'all want because it's not looking great.
It doesn't. But in any case, I don't have any problem seeing the perfect through line from the end of The Mandalorian to The Last Jedi, because somebody else like Ryan Coogler, who is able to work inside of a system, work inside the lines with continuity very effectively and at a very minute level, is Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau is a genius in this regard. So I don't have any problem reconciling those two things at all.
Now, I will say this. There's been some people that I've talked to offline that hate Kathleen Kennedy.
Those people are wrong. Those people are wrong.
Her. With all in their soul, they hate her.
They're wrong.
And I pitched the idea. I was like, well, they were like, she messed up everything. She did this. And I was like, well, what about The Mandalorian? That's good. And they immediately said, that's Jon Favreau's. That's Dave Filoni's. And I was like, whoa.
Let's look at the check. Let's see what's on the check. Who signed the check to Jon Favreau? Oh, it's Kathleen Kennedy. Who signs Dave Filoni's check?
If you're going to give her her losses, you've got to give her her wins. All right? So that means the final season of Clone Wars, you got to give it to her. That means that this new stuff that you're excited about, you got to give it to her. The 2 seasons of Mandalorian and Mandalorian season 1 and 2, you got to give it to her. You can't say, "Oh, well, she wasn't involved." Well, technically, she wasn't involved in the other movies either. She was so. I mean, which one you want? She was an executive producer in all of it, but in the movies, she was in the trenches. She was writing every line. But then, an executive producer in the Mandalorian, she had nothing to do with it.
Here's what I said, because I actually had a conversation with a good friend about this the other day. Right when Lucas sold Lucasfilm to Disney, both Kathleen and Dave Filoni were standing there. Right, either one of them could have gotten the keys, but one of them did. Then, after some challenges with the Solo movie, which is totally unfair because that movie is actually amazing. After some challenges with the movie franchise, some hits, they could have said, we're going to make a change. We're going to go with the other person. But did they give that person the keys? They did not.
And once you saw the episode in season 1 of Mandalorian directed by Dave Filoni, you realized why. It's just that he does animation. He's cool at lore, and that's him. But when he directed live action, all of us were like, understood. Like, we ain't gonna dog you out because you our boy. but you can't have an episode directed by you and one directed by Rick Famuyiwa in the same season. It's not going to look good.
Here's the thing. Look up on Wikipedia Kathleen Kennedy's resume. Before she even got to Lucasfilm, she was a boss at the highest possible level, murdering the game. Yeah. And if you believe that Disney's going to be like, we're going to take this proven person who's put billions of dollars into our coffers through film and merchandising and television, no matter how you slice it, or the guy who wears cowboy hats indoors. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. They're gonna make a business decision. I love Dave, but his fixation, you don't want to talk about fixation. His fixation on Ahsoka Tano, his blind spot there, and his basically not being ready for an executive sort of level thing based on some deficiencies that you point out in his live action direction, so on and forth. He's not a boss. He's not.
Yeah. And Antoine Allen said, I'm hearing Kennedy gave the okay for Mandalorian, no creative input. And her credit to say, I give her credit to say yes. And yeah, that's her job. She doesn't do the creative side. She does the business side. But she's smart enough to know, oh, cool, this pitch, that works. Let's make it. Just like the only problem really with the Star Wars films is that they seem like movies similar to someone like I'm in the art field or whatever. It seems like something that was made by committee. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But I also understand because this costed $4 billion. And there's a whole bunch of sweating people hoping to God that they don't mess this up. See, like when they bought, and people are like, oh, well, Marvel takes more chances. But Marvel was bunk when they bought it. It was going bankrupt. Whatever they did would have been fine. Star Wars, on the other hand, still had tons of money rolling into it. Even with people mad at the prequels, still had tons of money rolling in.
Let me talk to you about money for a second. That's fair you point that out, right? I had to call this up on Box Office Mojo, right? They spent $275 million making Solo. Solo grossed worldwide $392 million before you look at the licensing. Because right now on my shelf, I've got a Han Solo card game that's got the new guys and the new Lando on it that was not cheap to make and was not cheap for my wife to buy me. I'm sorry, wait, no. My wife actually recommended her friend's husband buy it for. Thanks, Farrah. But anyway, it was the merchandising that came out of this. So if they made a little over, I don't know, 90 million on just the movie and the other stuff, nobody went home broke. Nobody got hurt from that. You know, I mean, there's a number of Marvel movies that didn't hang $1 billion on people in 27 days, like Black Panther did. You don't see nobody cursing them out because you know what? Everybody eats. Yep. Everybody eats, B. So I mean, it's like if that's the worst you could say she did, that's better than anybody who's complaining has ever done in their entire lives.
Yeah. So with that said, we got a lot of stuff coming.
Lando.
What are you most excited to see?
LANDO. This, like, I had to go back and watch it because I literally didn't hear anything else. I mean, and because there's still time because I know that Billy D has had his domestic battery issues and whatever. I get that, and but we also let transphobic Cara do it on TV, so whatever. But just saying. So, and we also there's a possibility Rosario might be. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. The point
Rosario's fine. Rosario will be fine. She's fine.
We can get both Landos on this show. There's still time.
Yep.
And that is a gift that no amount of cursing could change. That is the most amazing possible thing that we could possibly do if that could happen.
Yeah, because you could there's any number of cool things you could do story-wise with having the older actor and the younger actor at the same time.
You know what I just realized?
What's up?
You know what's perfect? The Calrissian Chronicles.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Then you got everybody. You can do anything.
Because he writes it in the comic book, so it can be anything. Calrissian Chronicles. Look, All right, y'all. Look, we gave that to
I
you.
won't
We ain't
bill
giving
y'all
no
for
more.
that. Kathleen, that's on the love. I'm not gonna bill you for that one.
You know what I'm saying? Look, Kathleen, I know you watch the show every day. You heard it here first. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? I know you watch the show. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? Big shout out to, Favreau, all y'all. They be lurking in the chat and stuff and watching the replay. Don't worry. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? I know how y'all do. Uh, for me, it'd be Lando. I want to see what they do with Acolyte. I want to see what they do with that. And I still think that Star Wars or someone should do what Valiant did, similar to the 4001 AD storyline. Like jump 1,000 or so years in the future and be like, cool, let's do a story. Because you know someone who did do that? Discovery. And you know what show that I say is still probably the most solid episode to episode show running right now? Discovery. Discovery. Who had the best season 2 finale, whatever that year? Was it 08? Was it 18, 19? Whatever it.
Time has no
Discovery.
Discovery.
Yo, Discovery be kicking it. And they jumped in the future because now they can be like, we ain't got to worry about no problems. We ain't got to hear nobody talk about what about this or what about that. And that's great.
New things. Then they bring that heat. Every week they bring the heat.
Yo, man, every week. But with that said, guys, we have exhausted and exhumed and exorcised the demons. Tony Fleming says, should any of the shows be animated or are we just in a live action world right now? Bad Batch is going to be animated. I know that because people love that Clone Wars, kind of, I don't know, energy, which I'm not super against.
It's fine.
Like I like the Clone Wars animated series a lot. I like the art style more than I like the Rebels art style. So I'm down with it. But I don't think anything else is animated. Which
I think you're right. And from my standpoint,
they should try.
Yeah, I'm not picky about animation and live action, even though I understand animation is going to take longer to create, but budget-wise is easier to do. So I'm not picky one way or another with that. And I noticed the one thing that neither of us are saying, and I think we know why, for the dread underneath it, is Ahsoka, because there are too many questions, and we know they're not going to answer them.
Man.
We know.
Well, if you look in the logo, it has that kind of world between worlds design behind it. So the only thing I can assume is this is going to have Ahsoka in that space going to different timelines, maybe chasing after Thrawn or something like that. But I love Ahsoka. I do. I love Ahsoka. I do. She was my favorite Jedi. She might still be my favorite Jedi, but it's just what they did now is like you're putting her in a weird space where she makes the same decisions that I dogged out other Jedis for. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Not stepping and answering the call. You know what I'm saying? And
the galaxy needs you.
Yeah. And it's like, no, I have a very important personal mission. Bruh, the galaxy needs you. Just like Yoda came to Luke in Last Jedi. He was like, look, stupid. The girl ain't got nobody else. All right? Go train the girl. Why I gotta come here in death and tell you this? Go train this girl so she can learn something and then the galaxy will be okay. Like, learn from my mistakes. But that would also be good to hear. Like, look, we should have really regrouped and came back after the Empire when it was fresh and new, but we didn't because we were scared.
Can we talk about
we could have done it when they were fresh and new.
What we should have done is Leia. What we should have done is she's on Coruscant as a teenager. What we should have done is if she'd already had 10 years of Force training by that point, she could have just walked up and taken out the freaking Emperor.
Yep.
He wouldn't have seen her coming.
Yeah, the Jedi just The Jedi need somebody with some fire in their stomach. You know what I'm saying? With a
You know what they
spine
need?
or something.
They need what a lot of people say a lot of businesses need. They need Jamal the intern. Jamal the intern, while they're having the meeting, will be like, this don't make no sense. This is stupid. You need to do it this way.
Jamal the intern.
If more companies had a Jamal the intern, we would have fewer race scandals, we would have fewer sex scandals, we would have a lot of stuff. Because Jamal the intern would be like, that's stupid. And if you got Janessa,
I don't know if you should do that. You're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, Janessa the intern would fix even more stuff.
I don't know if you want to do that. You're gonna get in trouble. I don't know.
You're about to lose your job. Get this dance.
Because Jamal will be like, I don't know, but I'm on Twitter at lunchtime and you're gonna get in trouble for that.
You're about to lose your job. Get this dance.
It's like, I don't know. They're probably gonna boycott you for that. So yeah, we need more Quinlan Voss types than like if we had more Quinlan Voss and like Mace Windu types, then maybe they'd be able to thrive. Because I don't think Mace Windu would have. I don't think he would have ran.
Mace ain't running from nobody.
I think he would have stood. I think he would have stood down about 50 troopers if he had to.
Knuckle up.
I think he would. I don't think Mace Windu, especially from between the movies, the comics, and the animated stuff, Mace Windu would not have ran. He would have been like, nope. You want it?
Mace Windu was the second most powerful Jedi in the Order, and he will remember, oh wait, I'm a weapon of mass destruction. I can bring all of this down.
Yeah. Like I can see him literally like pausing like 50 clone troopers and then just slamming them up against the wall. I mean, look at what Grogu was doing in jail as a baby. He was just toying with him.
The Mudhorn was a gigantic thing, and he's like, nope, not today.
Oh man. Tony Fleming said Mace was a zealot though. Zealot or not, he wouldn't have went down. Look, I want Mace to be my teacher. Mace would have been like, no.
If to Tony's point, I would ask Tony this question in return. What's better, a zealot or a coward?
Yeah, I take the zealot because I could say Mace Windu being like
Mace Windu slander on the timeline. We're not gonna have that.
Yep.
That's not gonna happen.
I could see Mace Windu seeing Obi-Wan's transmission talk about like, hey, everybody run, leave, hide away. And then him be like, belay that order. Y'all can squad up on me on Hollywood and Highland tonight at 8 p.m. We gonna go see the Emperor. Come through.
Actually, no. He wouldn't do that because he rolled over there with four Jedi Masters, and 3 of them got handled.
Yeah.
So he would know I can't just take nobody up in there because they're just gonna be sacrificed. So unless I'm gonna use them as sacrifices and sneak up and cut his head off, that's not gonna work. And I'm probably not supposed to do that because I'm a Jedi. Wait. If only there was a little harmless little girl I could give her a lightsaber and she had force powers and she could get right up in the Senate. Oh wait. I do have one of those.
Oh, man. If only I knew someone who wasn't with the Order no more, but still was cool with us tangentially and had another person who they weren't super friends with, but they worked together and was also extremely well-trained in the Force. Imagine Mace backed by Ahsoka and Ventress. Bruh. We got a whole nother story.
Unfortunately,
I'm hearing the Empire, yes, grand opening and grand closing. Tonight at 11, we'll be getting back to the Galactic Senate.
Here's the only thing. Apparently, and I read this recently, Asajj Ventress got killed because she fell in love with Quinlan Voss in one of the books in New Canon.
She died in Dark Disciple.
Which I was like, that's kind of a sucker's way for her to go out, but I mean, it's done now, whatever.
Because she was kind of trying to keep him from going to the dark side, and then, I mean, it's weird because it's a good book, but I also didn't want her to die. But the book is good because you have this weird cat and mouse game of him chasing her, but then being like, "Oh no, hold up, Shorty kind of fine though," and then, but yeah, that would have been. I'd have been like, "Oh snap, Mace Windu don't play." You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you.
Thank you. You can find me at HannibalTabu.com. On social media, it's at Hannibal Tabu, HANNIBALTABU. That's on Twitter, Instagram, Plurk, Tumblr, Facebook, the inside of Mace Windu's lightsaber, the backside of the data code that Dr. Pershing had, all of those places. You can also find me weekly reviews on bleedingcool.com, weekly on the iHeartRadio podcast, Nerdorama with Mo and Tawala. I have in February 3 books coming out. War Medicine from Wonderman Comics, which is supernatural history, supernatural historical fiction. Noir is the new Black anthology from Fair Square Comics, all Black creators doing noir. Cyberpunk, which is all Black creators doing cyberpunk and a Black-owned publisher. And then April 2021 is MPLS Sound from Humanoids, which is co-written by Joe Illidge, a book set in the rise of Prince in Minneapolis.
That's what's up. What's up? Big shout out to Antoine Allen. I'll do this last because I've heard this question so many times. I'm going to knock it out of the park real quick. Antoine Allen says, do y'all think the Emperor was holding back just to get Anakin to step in to chop Mace's hand, or did Mace back him down on his own? Bruh, do you think that Palpatine could really take Mace Windu? Do you think that? Do you really think that?
First of all,
in your heart of hearts.
Let's do some of the math here. Okay, let's put the math together, right?
All right.
Palpatine, when he was older than this, took Savage Opress and Darth Maul without breaking a sweat, laughing at them the whole time. First of all. Second of all, before he fought Mace Windu, he killed 3 Jedi Masters without trying very hard. And third, like Obi-Wan and Yoda later, he had a plan to weaponize and radicalize an undereducated idiot from a backwood planet. So, under those circumstances, and 4, he had Force Lightning the whole time and saved it.
Yeah.
So, could he have taken Mace Windu in a straight-up saber battle? It would have been great to see, but it would have been difficult. However, do I believe that he was worried at any point about Mace Windu? No, I don't believe he was, because he had the one thing that Mace Windu never had. He had the one thing that most people in the galaxy never had, a plan.
True. Yeah. So, well, I'll let y'all have that. Not happy.
I love Mace too. I don't want to slander Mace, but we got to keep it real.
But yeah, like, I will say this. Your boy Palpatine was planning from deep. Like, dude had like a 30-year plan or something. Like, homie was not, it wasn't like, yo, my plan for the next 2 years is, he was like, yo, look, I got a plan.
Check the timeline. Palpatine had a 70-year plan.
Yeah. Because he was like, look, I'm going to do this. If it don't work, I'll still be, high in the ranks, but I'm going to be emperor if it works out. Then if it ever goes bad, I'm going to clone myself. I'm going to put myself in little tubes and stuff, and then make a fake person, and then run the world through the fake person, and then come back and steal the energy of the young Skywalker and take his body or something. It's like, dude had mad, like,
boss.
Dude had mad plans. Like, dude had mad plans. But of course, guys, NERD, SOUL, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all them places. YouTube is the hub. Hit that thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. Hit that thumbs down if you don't. When you hit that thumbs down, I'm gonna send Palpatine after you because he's still alive somewhere. It's like a Palpatine embryo somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And he has unlimited power. But
I think Grogu ate it. I think Grogu ate the Palpatine.
Yo, Grogu was straight snacking, son. It was like, bruh, the lady is right here. Would you stop? Yo,
and he actually understands. He understands. He doesn't care.
She held the thing close. He was like, Still got one more. Yo, homie was, but I guess he figured like, yo, look, you got like 80 eggs. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, what's a cup? You know what I'm saying? But see, he found out eggs are like Krispy Kreme. You come to the box like, I'm gonna have one donut. Psych, you about to have 6 donuts. Like you thought. Or if any of your grandmas like mine makes homemade rolls, you in your mind, you like, I'm eating one. That's it. I'm gonna just eat one. 12 rolls later, then you're like, oh snap, my bad. I didn't know it was gonna go this far.
That part.
But podcast, if y'all want to listen, Spotify for that music. We're gonna leave y'all with Arcatron. That's ARCKATRON.com. Love all y'all. All y'all be cool. You know what I'm saying? Tony Fleming, Andre Atkins. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Keithan came through. Antoine Allen. All y'all. Markeith Collins. Whoever else. Y'all. Saba Noor. Y'all cool. If I missed you, it ain't on purpose. See y'all next time. We're gonna leave y'all with Arcatron. And from us to y'all, peace. We out. We out. And we out.